One afternoon in 2009, explorer Michael Nash was on safari in Loango National Park, Gabon, home to lush rainforest, mangrove swamps, and some of Africa's last truly wild landscapes. He thought he was prepared for anything, but nothing could ready him for the moment a new mother elephant stepped into his path and suddenly charged. Michael had traveled deep into the forest that day to track wildlife. He carried a camera, binoculars, and a calm confidence earned over years of safari guiding. He had seen elephant herds before. He respected them and gave them space, but this encounter would force him to learn that a mother in defense mode is unstoppable. As he approached a grove near a freshwater pond, his focus turned to a group of baby elephants playing under the afternoon sun. Their soft chirps and tiny trunks exploring the water delighted him. He raised his camera, capturing the innocence of childhood in the wild. That's when he noticed the mother standing a few yards away, massive and imposing. It had been silent until now, but a shift in her posture stopped him cold. The ground trembled slightly under her feet. She stared him down, chest heaving. He froze. He'd tread carefully in her domain, but not carefully enough. In an instant, the elephant opened her mouth in a loud rumble. Ears flared out and dust kicked up. Michael couldn't move fast enough. By the time he reacted, she was within seconds of lunging at him. He raised his camera again, instinctively snapping pictures. One of the tusks came dangerously close to his side. Sparks of white flashed under the canopy as she drew closer. Then she struck. Her tusk rammed into his shoulder. He recoiled but stayed upright. His feet stumbled in the loamy ground. The tusk narrows and twists out. He locked onto it. He grabbed on. He realized in that moment, if he let go, he'd die. So he didn't let go. Instead, Michael latched onto that tusk with every ounce of strength he had. He clung like a man on edge, his hands cutting into the ivory, holding for dear life. The elephant surged forward, dragging him across the packed forest floor. His camera flew from his grip. He could hear it break against a rock behind him. He screamed, but the elephant's body nearly muffled it. His arms shook. The forest spun around him, a blur of green and brown, until the beast stopped. She twisted her big head and shoved him again, tusk first. Pain exploded in his shoulder blade. He held on. He could not let go. Together they lurched through the grove of saplings and palms. He felt roots snag his boots as the elephant charged again, tossing him, then pulling him with that tusk. He hung there, suspended one step from oblivion. His lungs burned, his blood pounded, and still he clung on. Finally, Michael felt the force slacken. The earth stopped shaking. He was dragged into a sparse clearing where the baby elephant now stood by its mother's side. The charge had ended. The mother raised her trunk in a slow swing, alarming, but the tension lifted just enough that he could fall free. He crashed onto his back, looking up, gasping for air, while the elephant's silhouette remained in his vision. He believed she'd go back to her calf. She did, but not before giving him one last warning trumpet, shaking the ground. Then she spun and plodded away. Michael struggled to his hands and knees, arms trembling. He tasted blood in his mouth, shoulder wound over, gnawed flesh from tusk friction, cracked bone. He coughed, surprised to hear himself speak. He was alive. He found a fallen camera, grabbed it, and began stumbling back. Each step burned in his shoulder, but his legs held firm. He thought of the mother elephant pulling him like that, tusk digging deep, and he felt both terror and relief. He hadn't bitten. He hadn't shot. He had simply clung. Eventually, he found his jeep. Two guides inside, shocked to see him covered in dust and crimson. Wordless, he collapsed into the seat, forgetting his fear. He was alive. At the ranger station, medics plied him with antibiotics, painkillers, and shots. They x-rayed his shoulder, fractured collarbone, bruised rib, lacerated flesh. They stitched his wounds. They told him he'd been lucky. He recovered slowly. He took months off to rehabilitate. For weeks he couldn't lift his arm. His sleep was haunted by dreams of tusked indigos and pounding footsteps. but the wife he returned to told him he never cried, not once. Instead, he spoke plainly. She saved her calf. I disturbed her world. He returned to Africa 6 months later. He visited the same grove where he'd clung to death. He laid flowers at a small shrine the guides built for him, granite with his camera beside it, broken in pieces. He closed his eyes and thanked her, and left it there. Michael made no apologies. He never blamed the elephant. He always said she was a mother. She did what she had to. He wrote a short memoir soon after, recounting his time on safaris and the day that day turned on him. He titled it Tusks of Life. He donated proceeds to elephant conservation. He devoted himself to photography, images of elephants splashing in waterholes, freedom in their eyes. He spoke at wildlife conferences about respecting distance and power. He often said the line he returned to on podiums, "Never mistake calm for weakness." In interviews, he talked about adrenaline and instinct, about the twinge of ivory in his fingertips, about each second that stretched into meaning. The photo of his flushed shoulder beside a shattered camera became iconic on wildlife pages across the globe. Because his story wasn't just about surviving. It was about clarity in chaos, empathy in fear, and the strength of restraint over reaction. Michael Nash's tusk-to-tusk brush with death reminds us that wild animals are not villains. They're parents. They're soldiers of nature. And when their children are at risk, their fury is unstoppable. He once told an interviewer, "I survived because I remembered she had a baby." Today, his images hang in galleries. Lone elephants walking through the swamp, light through their wrinkles, powerful silence in their stare. And that single terrifying memory of tusk to flesh remains his defining moment, reminding us all how thin the line is between life and the wild. If you found Michael's story powerful or emotional, please give this video a like. It helps this story reach more people who would never hear it otherwise. Drop a comment below. Would you have clung on to survive? I'd love to read your thoughts. And make sure you subscribe to Lore of the Multiverse for more remarkable true stories that test the limits of reality. We publish once a week with wild survival, unsolved mysteries, and the unbelievable but true. Thanks for watching, and remember, when nature tests you, choose empathy over fear and respect the wild.